Hey guys, check this out. I finally got a welder. A really good friend of mine, an original tiny builder, one of the original three, John from JDS Outdoors. His channel is up here in the iCard and also in the description area below. He is moving on to bigger and better things because he's a legit serious fabricator. He's doing crazy, insane things. Like back when the Tiny Boat Nation started, he blew all of us out of the water with his creations, his ability to weld, and and he was doing jet john boats, his jet john boat conversions. I'll link two of his videos that I was able to debut for him here in the description area below, and also in the iCards up top. Thank you so much, John, for this. As soon as I have time to figure out how to weld, I'm gonna start doing it. As soon as I get an outlet for that thing in my garage, and I get an argon tank, which is like $200 for the tank and to fill it for its initial fill, I'm going to go ahead and get on that. But right now, I'm still doing some very cool things with non-welded applications. The biggest one yet is my aluminum hatch system. This is an all non-welded, completely non-welded aluminum hatch system, a fully boxed system. Lighter than my half-inch equivalent wood. So it's pretty sweet. I just thought about it before. And I know a lot of you are probably gonna blast me. You know, like you said, aluminum decks are too heavy. They were the way other people were doing them. I would look at those and be like, that's too heavy. Why do it that way? Just stick with wood. Stick with wood. But then the more and more I use 1/16 inch framing, and then more I was collaborating with my other friend and master builder Nate. We just kind of collabed and schemed, and I thought I could pull it off. So I think I did. In fact, no, I did. This is a preview to what's to come. And this series for the Smokercraft will be fairly short. It's just only accentuating on what I did to the boat. And then we're going to move on to much bigger and better things, including formal launch of our new website and store completely. It's coming. It's very much coming. Wait for it. It's coming very, very soon. Probably in the next few videos you will see it. But until then, check this out. So we just had to retrofit a lot of this. It was either gut the whole boat or put a lot of pieces in place to make it work. I initially wanted to get the entire thing. The entire core of the boat is redwood, and it takes up a lot of space to frame it with the initial style bleed out systems. They just take a lot of initial space. Then later on I decided not to do it. I'm glad I didn't do it because I was able to frame in a bunch of other things that those big wood studs were able to cover and hide underneath. Part of what I did was what I call Gen 6, but this has already been done by a bunch of people, including Nate. Just the way that I bend it around and fit it into the frame. I had this all edited, and then something happened to my computer and it only edited part of the footage, but not before I deleted it, thinking it edited the whole clip like it usually did. Really sorry. I will show you a complete tutorial on how to do this way of dry hatching. It is so much easier than my other way and a lot less space intensive. It does work, and I will show you why it works. Although it's not as good as the bleed out system, it does work pretty well. But that's not the core of this video. The big pinnacle of this video is my aluminum hatch system, where I was able to make a very, very rigid and stiff hatch out of kind of using my bait making skills to kind of mold the ends in instead of weld them, which was pretty good. They're all symmetrical, they lay completely flat, they're tubes, so the frame's fully boxed, so there's no flex. Like, I have wooden hatches to compare it to once we are done with it, so let's just, I mean, it sits perfectly flush. It was going to sit perfectly flush because we had it in the clamp, and we had it clamped inside the vise, and then clamped, you know, to a square roller, so the corners are going to be perfectly symmetrical. And I mean, if I had a miter saw, which I could get, like, probably could have got these corners absolutely perfect, but I got it pretty damn close to perfect with a bandsaw. Took significantly less time, and whatever little cracks that weren't perfect in there, the resin itself filled in. So I mean, you guys are really the only ones that know it. But this is like, it's like there's no flex, none. It's like super solid. I don't want to keep flexing because at least 3 of these ends haven't been cured for over a few hours. But we're gonna go ahead and trace this out in a piece of sheet metal. I'm gonna sweep this whole mess up and drag that .063 sheet out, and we're gonna try and sheet this. This is .067, which is 1/16 inch aluminum tubing. This is .063 aluminum, the closest that I could get to the actual sheeting. What makes me think this will work is because, for one, I stepped on this big piece I stuck this even bigger piece over here. I stuck in the rod locker for a bass boat for a floor, and I stepped in there. There was really, the flex for it was not. I mean, it was not anything to worry about. So, food for thought. One of the tools from Bauer in Harbor Freight that is actually fairly reliable is this nibbler. Just FYI. But what we're going to do is we're going to get this piece and we're going to put it on top of there. We're going to use 1/8 inch rivets to secure it all around the rim. And the better way would to get countersink ones. All I had was the traditional panhandle ones. They still work really well, and they're not going to show as much through the turf because they're smaller and they're much less invasive than, say, a 3/16 inch rivet. A lot of them together do just as good a job. I just would never rely on these for like a super structural basis, but the structural basis is already there. This is literally just attaching the top of the lid with a way lower profile. In terms of expansion, like, I mean, the head itself is maybe about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller, but so overall expansion, when we put the foam on, you won't even see these divots. That's a bigger thing, is you don't want that to show through, but I know it will show through. There's no point. To do this, I'm using a standard impact driver with impact ready drill bits at 1/8 inch. They're the Hercules bits, the diamond plated bits from Harbor Freight. I buy them in bulk because they're cheap and they're pretty comparable in performance to their much more expensive brand name counterparts. They're one of the ones that I would also say are fairly safe to get if you're going through consumables, which you will go through a lot of drill bits doing projects like these. That's pretty freaking sweet. I mean, look how clean it looks. Friggin' sweet. Alright, big moment to test. See how much it weighs. Alright, so let's see how much the wood one weighs. .14. 5 pounds, 15 ounces. 5 pounds, 14. It's like right at 6 pounds. Just an ounce or so off. Zeroed out. This is the metal hatch, and it is larger in area than that of the other one. All right. 4 pounds, 13 ounces. 4 pounds, 13 ounces. So let's take a look at them side by side. Yeah, we'll probably put a middle gusset through. It does flex, so it'll need a gusset. That's fine though. But still got a little bit of wider area, and it was a pound lighter. Now you can argue whether or not the carpet and everything else. I don't think the carpet, the little bit of carpet that went on that hatch, plus a little bit of yoga mat and the bubble wrap, which is pretty much air, added up to a pound. I don't believe that it did. And I believe that latch, even if I took that latch off, I don't think it would make maybe an ounce difference. I don't know. I'm talking about ounces. But this hatch still weighs a pound lighter than the 1/2 inch. Arguably, we could equal this with 3/8 plywood. But how we did it today, I think, was substantially easier and a much more symmetrical and better looking profile, and definitely a longer latching hatch. You can also just add the teak foam inside, and it'll just, the good thing is that I just gotta kind of rough this up a little bit with a wire brush and go over some acetone with it, and anything will stick to it. I don't have to worry about all the other nonsense. So, I mean, I might just order some more decorative, like that camo, that snow cam foam. That stuff was pretty good looking. I really wouldn't mind that stuff being underneath my hatches like it was for that 1448. I might just leave that. I think the foam on top versus the foam on the bottom, in and of itself, would be alright. I don't know if we're going to get the same heat reduction model as we are with this. I think wood still holds heat, and it can hold a lot of heat, but it doesn't hold heat like aluminum does. And I know aluminum supposedly holds less heat than steel, but it's still metal. Friggin' holds heat like you wouldn't believe. This can be hot to the touch on your feet. That can definitely be hot to the touch on your feet. I don't know how much foam will offset how hot this gets in the hot Arizona sun, especially where I live in the hottest region of Arizona. I live there. We literally live in the Mojave Valley, the hottest one. So it's a risk. It's a risk I'm willing to take, and I'm glad I'm able to do this on my boat. I got to clip off a little bit of the ends there. I didn't come too quite clean with the metal shears, but that's not even a big deal. But the rest of it came out pretty sweet. I did this all without having to weld, and it's really, really stiff. I resin molded the ends in, and I gave it a super clean, like, mirror finish without any sort of residual leftover bead or anything. It's just like a perfect frame. And I used 1/8 inch rivets to low profile set them. And that's going to be my new hatch system for my boat. I wasn't supposed to rip my boat apart, but I was trying to do some things in it yesterday and it pissed me off. So now it's going to get aluminum hatches. This is the way we're going to end up replacing the joiners. So we more or less did the same piano hinge system that we do for the angle, but it's on here. We have to do a tube joiner because how I designed the whole deck was for the wood studs to be a joiner. It's really screwing me over now, but there's just no other good way to do it. It like has to be done this way. Alright, so we have them here. Pretty seamless. Can't see any seams, can't see any rivets, other than the 1/8 that I have on top, which will be immediately buried by the EVA foam. And they'll flip up like so once I attach the tubing. But the tubing hides everything. Everything's hidden. Thank you for tuning in to watch this. If you want to see a sneak peek on how these hatches came out on the finish, stick around and watch the rest of the video. If you want a full tutorial on these hatches from start to finish, please check me out on patreon.com/TBNation, or you can join the memberships down below. It's right there in the description part of the video. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this, and here's a sneak peek at what's to come. So truth be told, this deck came out much better than even I expected it. It's the way it feels when you open it. It's a lot of other things that I'll be able to show you as the series goes on. I'll only be focusing on what I did to the boat to revamp it, because it's already been built. But what I did to revamp it is pretty epic. All the way from my most refined electrical layouts to my manual power pole systems or anchor systems. You know, there's no power to them, they're manual. They've already been done in kayaks through Kayak DIY and Kayak Dad. But I brought my own refined system to bring them to boats. And if they can hold a boat this big, imagine what they can do for like a 14-footer or a 12-footer. All the things I've been able to do, and I went on a pretty like healthy fishing binge, you know, for like a week after I built it. So I'm getting caught up on footage, and I'm gonna get ready to release it all to you, and then I got something even better than this. Stay tuned, it's all coming to you.